Everyone, and welcome to the Tribal Environmental Summit. This session is the solid waste and recycling session, so thank you for joining us. We've got a pretty good turnout right now. We've got about 60 attendees and 5 panelists. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with Roger Hancock with EPA. Take the floor, Roger.
All right. Hello, testing. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am very pleased to be able to introduce this solid waste session for the summit today. I think this is very timely with everything that's been going on the past year with the lockdown and the pandemic. We thought it would be great to be able to hear from some tribal speakers to talk about their programs, recycling, e-waste collection, keep the programs going, challenges they faced over the past year, all that kind of thing. So I'm basically going to do an introduction for everybody and then get out of the way. And I want as much time as possible for the speakers and for any questions that anybody may have. The 3 speakers we have, great speakers: Lauren Hohola, Pueblo of Isleta. Hey, Lauren, he's going to be going out first. Then Maxine Paul, Pueblo of Santa Ana. And then our own very busy Chelsea Jones from Cherokee Nation and NITEC, who in addition to helping set up all these sessions is agreed to be a speaker too. So I definitely appreciate that, Chelsea. For EPA, I'm just going to do a really quick update and then again, let everybody else speak. Kind of the bottom line with EPA for the last year, as you've noticed, and is we've pivoted mostly to trainings. When this whole thing first started, we were working with ITEP, Institute of Tribal Environmental Professionals, as kind of our main trainer consultant, and most of their classes have gone very in-depth in-person trainings, and so they switched to virtual. Headquarters found a couple of they could use existing contracts that a region may have or their own contractor, and they started offering some online virtual trainings, and I'll let you know that the attendance has been fantastic. In fact, there's a couple of trainings that filled up so quickly we had to offer another training to be able to accommodate everybody that wanted to go. Feedback has been great. They're always welcoming suggestions from participants, any future trainings you might want. So the reason I bring that up is there's potentially a new twist on these trainings, and I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up on it. I was contacted by Regions 9 and 10, who had a contractor who helped put together the small scale transfer station training. It was over 4 days. A number of you participated, and they said, we have the capacity to reach out to just a limited few number of tribes to give a one-on-one session with the instructor. And this is the teacher, the instructor, 30 years, national expert in the field of transfer stations, especially rural transfer stations, and do like a one-on-one 3-hour session with a limited number of tribes, if you think they'd be interested, and to basically ask any questions you have, talk shop, designs of your transfer station or your recycling center or anything like that. And I jumped on with both feet and said, absolutely. We had 5 tribes in our region that attended at least 3 of the 4 sessions. And so I've been reaching out to them. We're currently working on that, and they're going to do that follow-up with the instructor. I thought it was a neat idea. I'm looking forward to see how that works out. And I asked, could we do something like this on the national level? What about future trainings in other tribes? If you're interested, could we potentially offer this at the national level for this kind of follow-up, one-on-one direct technical assistance with a national expert in whatever field it is, codes and regulations, open dumps, compost, or whatever. And the regions and headquarters have really supported it to the point where we've now been working together, developing a whole statement of work. We're talking to headquarters of tasking their contractor to do this. And no promises, it's not approved yet, but I wanted to just basically give everybody a heads up, because this kind of happened after the RTOC write-up, so I couldn't put it in there, that if it does get approved and it goes through, then maybe in the next year or 2, you might see this offered by headquarters as an additional thing to some of the trainings. And I just wanted to make sure if it's something you might be interested in, that you're aware of it ahead of time. And that's it. And I'll give you obviously more updates coming soon to a terminal near you as soon as I hear anything on my end. So that's it. That's my update. I want to turn it over to our speakers, give them as much time as possible. So I guess, Chelsea, let's turn it over to Lauren and let him take it away. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Roger. And I just passed over presenter privileges to you, Lauren.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm kind of having a little bit of difficulty with my computer, so I apologize.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, I'm Lauren Hohola with Pueblo, and I'm here to just go ahead and talk to you about I have a little presentation on solid waste and recycling. I'm trying to bring it up. I'm sorry, I apologize. Let's see. It's not letting me bring up my presentation for whatever reason. I apologize again for the technical difficulties. This is my first time presenting via online video. I'm used to doing it with everything in front of me. Apologize. But anyway, just a little bit about myself. I've been working in the solid waste industry for since 2010, and over here at the Pueblo Vista, we do curbside recycling and curbside trash pickup, as well as let's see, as running the transfer station. Let's see. I'm trying to.
Lauren, do you find, do you have your PowerPoint on your computer?
Yeah,
Do you have it pulled up?
it's on here.
Okay.
It says they can't share this file because it isn't supported either by file sharing.
Oh,
It's just it worked fine on the test run yesterday that I did, but I don't know what it's doing now.
I was gonna say, if all else fails, you could send it to Karen or I, and we can share it for you. Or we can go ahead and have
Okay.
Maxine do it if you want, whichever works best for you.
I'm just trying to figure it out because I'm bringing it up and it's saying that for whatever reason it's saying it can't support it.
Yeah, if you want, Lauren, just go ahead and just email Karen and I your PowerPoint and we can share it for you. And then in the meantime, we can have Maxine go ahead and go if that works for you.
Well, yeah, that works for me. Apologize, everyone.
No, you're okay. Just go ahead and, like I said, email Karen and I your PowerPoint, and then we'll go ahead and have Maxine go, and then you guys can just switch places.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess I'll take the mic then. Hi, folks.
Yes. Maxine,
Great.
if you want to go ahead, Maxine with the Pueblo of Santa Ana is our next speaker.
Lauren, I hope things go well and you figure out the technical difficulties, because I'm excited to listen to your presentation. I've definitely heard about Isleta's programs before, but it's always cool to hear about curbside pickup, which we don't have. So yeah, I'm Maxine Paul. I manage environmental programs for the Pueblo of Santa Ana. If you hear any screams in the background, it's just my kid, who's about 10 months now. So nothing to be worried about. So I'm gonna share my screen now and go through our presentation. So bear with me. All right, I'm assuming everyone can see it. Let me know if you can't. And so I'm going to talk about our solid waste program at the Pueblo of Santa Ana. This is our DNR logo that you can see, the new big one, and our little old one up there that has the reduce, reuse, recycle, and respect in between it. So I've been at the Pueblo for 5+ years now, but the solid waste program started when the Department of Natural Resources started, which was more than 20 years ago. So I want to credit Alan Hatch, our director, his work on it before I got there, and also want to mention, of course, our transfer station operator, Victor Sanchez, who's a Pueblo member. So I'm just gonna briefly give you a background about Santa Ana. I'm sure, we all sort of know each other at this point, but you never know when there's someone who doesn't know what I'm talking about when I mention the Pueblo Santa Ana, or where I am. And then about the first work that was done to start our transfer station, take us from just normal trash dumpsters to recycling and a clean area, and start to, decrease that landfill waste stream. So talk about our recycling program and the different stages of composting that we've done, and go over the funding sources that we've used, and then talk a little bit about, how COVID has affected our program right now, and just general issues, the recycling changes. So yeah, so let's begin. So first, I'll just have a little map here to point you to where Santa Ana's trust lands are in red there. So we're just north of Bernalillo and located along the confluence of the Rio Grande and the Rio Jemez. That southern border, like I said, is north of Bernalillo, so it's shared with a number of different communities, and there's a lot of illegal dumping and issues being sort of in this rural urban interface. There's also a commuter corridor right there. So there's a rail runner, and then there's I-25, a big highway, and then I-550, which is a state route that goes north to Navajo lands and Farmington and all that. So it gets a lot of use. There's also a big suburb called Rio Rancho nearby. So yeah, I'm gonna just sort of briefly go through this. A lot was done before I got here, so I won't be as knowledgeable about this, but I've read through a lot of our work, and starting in 2006, Tribal Council really wanted to focus on cleaning up the transfer station, which was sort of an open dump, and wanted DNR to work on it. So DNR started with waste site assessment and characterization. You guys are all familiar with those. And then in 2007, we began recycling office paper in big recycling bins. So that's continued to today. In 2008, they started to do workshops and have a transportation cleanup day. There was a biosolids pilot in 2008, which went well. There was, real compost made, but there were a lot of complaints about the smell. So that was something that was sort of shelved to do composting later, and that was done at the transfer station. In 2009, there was an open dump cleanup, and then in 2009 there was also the creation of the recycling center and the swap shop. So we have I'll get to some pictures of that to explain in better detail, or just sort of a timeline here. In 2011, DNR hired folks to work with a much smaller division at that time to create an integrated waste management plan and create penalties for breaking any of the coded illegal dumping, trash burning, etc. issues. So the stuff that I've worked on a little bit more intimately familiar with was taking what was already a great transfer station and just continuing to make sure that it was up to date and improved. In 2007, we got back, 2017, we got back to composting, but this time without biosolids, this time through a project that was involved some students from a college on the other side of the country that did sort of a plan for potential composting and how we could, different options that we could use to sort of integrate as many waste streams as possible. So we started that by going after a RAID grant again, which is the same kind of grant. This is a grant from the state of New Mexico that comes out of, I believe it's a license plate or tires fund, but it goes towards cleaning up tires and illegal dumping and recycling. And so we got that grant to get a compost turner and started windrow composting with dead and down cottonwood trees from an area that had suffered a lot of drought, as well as horse manure from the stables at the Hyatt, and other nitrogen sources and green waste. And we want to expand that over time to include food sources. And we're actually starting to work with our wellness center to do something to start including waste leftover food from community gatherings when those continue. So yeah, and the out products there was creating bagged compost, which we did. The we've sort of scaled down with COVID. The store is no longer a separate store. It's now part of the nursery. So things are in transition. Then in 2018 to 2019, we updated our transfer station. We had a lot of old signage that you couldn't see everything. We got some compost training for both me and Victor. We got, just new signs, new materials, some outreach materials, and a center to include notices so that folks could see new information every time they come in. And then, of course, we started a brownfields program in 2019 to start to address some of these sites that are, we have a lot of, I know it's not directly related, but I thought, as we're talking about solid waste, we might talk about the places that there's a lot of waste and environmental hazards. So we have a number of potential brownfield sites across the Pueblo and the new land that was purchased in 2016. And by new, I mean, old land that was bought back. And, there's a number of buildings there that have some environmental hazards too. So we're working on, the solid waste that's brought to the transfer station, as well as the waste that's out there. So yeah, so let's go back again in time to the beginning of that history, and the rest of these slides will go a little bit quicker. This is what it looked like, the transfer station area when it was just a dump. That was cleaned up. This is in the earlier days of the RAID cycle, and so you can see on here, I don't know if you can see my pointer, but you can see the ramp, and that's where the dumpsters go. And then there were just a bunch of tires. Well, this is just explaining what things started as. And after they were cleaned up with no attendant, just opened up being a couple dumpsters, we added recycling, cardboard, aluminum, plastics, paper, electronics. We added our transfer station operator, which came from, I'll get into it, but it's funded by tribal, by our tribal budget. And then, we have a reusable area, the swap shop, as well as another transfer station that gets attended now that's up at the old village. So this is a map of what that area that was just empty looks like now. So you have your border, you have which is fenced, and then you have garbage dumpsters. They were getting taken weekly. Now they're going twice a week because we believe folks have just sort of, there's a lot more stuff now that with COVID, we're not, I think people are, have more stuff to throw out or ordering more stuff or we're not 100% sure what's going on with that, but we're going to start to look into it and maybe do a waste stream characterization again. But anyway, you can see where the mixed paper is. We have a sign and an explanation for how to safely dispose of sharps. We have our HHW section, which ENIPC and some other folks do a pickup of those pretty regularly through also the RAID grants. We have the swap shop, of course, and you can find a lot of good stuff there. It's pretty impressive. Right before I had my baby, I was like, is this I think it was like a little stroller for a 3-year-old that someone had left. So very kind. There are wood chips. We have a chipper here, electronic waste that we take to those type of services. A green waste area. We do some burning of green waste, but only green waste. We have, we just have a lot of stuff that's separate. Oh, the usable building materials I wanted to point out too, which is nice because then folks can come look for building materials, but only the usable stuff. There's also the overflow for the green waste and our little office where Victor hangs out. So yeah, there's been a lot of signage posted over the years. This is one of the earlier signs. And these have really helped people, get in the mindset that this, and with Victor's work, keeping it clean, that this is a clean place that you come and you safely dispose of things and you safely recycle. You don't end up littering or dumping, and it kind of helps the whole mindset. Here's the swap shop. And that signage is updated. This is an old sign, but it's similar. And just as you can see, you have some different things that people can take, and the those donation boxes we had, but they are picking them up since COVID. I think they should start again because they know that it's not likely to transmit in clothing. Yeah, so we have these trailers that Victor takes down to different recycling facilities in Albuquerque, and we get paid for what's in them. Now this is an old, well, no, that sign is similar to the current sign, but we currently only do 1 and 2, and they're separated, and that takes some work because of, as most of you know, about China stopped accepting mixed plastics and started having needing a really high degree of or very little contamination to be acceptable. So that's been sort of tough. Cardboard, we also take. Here's an image of our compost turner working on the rows that are over by the Hyatt, over by the stables. So that's been a successful project, I think, partially because it's away from the community, so the smell isn't an issue, but it's also not biosolids anymore. It's, it's manure that's providing that nitrogen. Yeah, I want to briefly talk about just the ways in which we funded our program. I mentioned the RAID grant, and that's really been great to help us take take new steps. So the 2008 one helped clean up that dump site to create a transfer station. The 2016 one, we got the compost turner, and the 2018 one, we did a lot of updates to the signage so that people could see everything and sort of revamp the whole transfer station. We also, of course, have used GAP funding to do the site characterization, to get recycling containers. We did a giveaway of containers. I think that was actually under RAID, but we to help people sort their recycling as that's become more of an issue. And then we use the Solid Waste Management Assistance Program to do the integrated solid waste management plan. So again, that was pretty neat, but it's a great code that's there. I've used it and read through it. So yeah, to just summarize, I mean, I don't know that I really need to do this now that you all have read this, but I think that what's been really neat to see at Santa Ana is taking what folks wanted to become a good solid place to get rid of solid waste and create less litter in the community and less illegal dump sites. We're still on the way to getting rid of all the illegal dump sites, but we've transformed one into this great transfer station that folks really do use well and is maintained really well by our operator. And we are able to recycle and then compost now in a way that is not invasive to the community and is across the river and away from folks, but is also using the materials that would go to waste otherwise. And yeah, like I mentioned, we started sorting the 1 and 2 plastics because of that issue with China. So what are our goals going forward? I think we want to continue to work on our composting program to really include as many waste streams as possible from various sectors of the Pueblo. So we have all these businesses, not just the Hyatt, but the new hotel, a lot of restaurants and the buffet down there, and there's food waste that could be included. We want to increase community recycling. I already mentioned the collaboration with the Wellness Center that we want to, take any food that would otherwise be wasted and put it back into the compost and then put back into the soil and continue that cycle. And that maybe some of the compost would be more available to agricultural needs as well. Yeah, we want to increase recycling as we can. Like I said, we've seen this problem with COVID where there's more and more trash, and so we want to try to work through getting that trash back down if that's possible. We want to continue to enforce our solid waste codes because every once in a while we have an issue and need to call in our conservation officers and remind folks we haven't given out many, if any, actual violations or payments that need to be made. But I think that's the enforcement aspect. Occasionally you hear concerns about the community from community members about people violating the code. So we definitely want to continue to have enforcement. And then I think our long-term goal that I know a lot of people have for these kind of programs is how do we get funding? Because our division is run 90 to 95, depending on the year, percent on grants. So the tribal budget is very small, and I think the tribal budget is $1 million, and the grant budget is like 19 to 20 million. So I think we want to find ways to fund operator costs too that are not just the travel budget, but there aren't that many grants out there for that unless you're gonna use GAP, which we already use in a lot of other stuff. So yeah, that is my presentation. I tried to be brief for all of you that listen to way too many of these. I don't know if now is the proper time to take questions. If it's not, you're welcome to email me at the email address at the bottom. That's it. I guess I stopped sharing now. I see a lot of questions in the chat. Do you want me to answer those?
Yeah, Maxine, go ahead and answer those questions if you'd like.
Great. So I have, I just have Tammy mentioning that she's also seeing a huge increase in cardboard. That's good to see, but that's important to know that it's cardboard, or it's good to hear that from you, because then maybe we're getting cardboard that's being thrown out that could be recycled, not just pizza boxes, right? I'm happy to share this PowerPoint. Yeah, I don't know who I should send it to, but I can share it in however.
You can send it to me, Maxine, or Karen.
Okay.
Chelsea or Karen.
Great. I'll send it to Chelsea and Karen after this, and then that can be there. And Heaven, I'm not sure which what she means by program, because I kind of consider it all program, but do you mean grant or initiative? I would say that composting has been a great success, just because it was from zero to, bagging compost. I think that's pretty exciting. I do think that that they created the transfer station from a dump site in 2008 was a big success in getting that grant to do that, because that wasn't, the RAID grants are a little bit, they're a lot of work for the amount of money there. So that was great that they did that then. Yeah.
Looks like we have one other question. Oh, you probably just seen that one, but another one that was sent to me is, where do you guys take your paper?
Yeah, Victor takes it to a place in Albuquerque. If you want me to get directly to the person, I don't remember the name of the place off the top of my head.
But and then you have one more question.
And we've changed it a couple times over the years, because different places, they like change their pricing schemes and all that. Sorry, that's not a good answer, but I can get that answer to you. The next question is if we sell the compost or donate it to the city. So different compost has had different rounds of this, has gone to different places. I know that some of it is bagged and out for sale for the general public, so the community and other places, so the Pueblo and other places. I think some of it is, do we pay workers to collect food waste, or is it also brought to the site? So we haven't done the food waste part yet. We want to include that. Victor is paid for his operator work, so that would be sort of part of his job potentially. But I think if we got it to the scale that we wanted it to be, it would need more people, and that's another issue that we'll have to overcome at that point. Yeah.
Agreed. Thank you, Maxine. We really appreciate you speaking.
Yeah, you're welcome. I will be here. I'll be off video, but I'll be around if people have questions later, and I'm excited to hear the other presenters, and I will send you my presentation. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Lauren, I'm going to turn it over to, I'm going to have Karen be the presenter, and then you just let her know when you want to advance your slide. And you're muted, Lauren.
Am I unmuted now?
You're good to go.
Okay, everybody. Sorry about that. But we got it figured out. Just a little bit of technical difficulties. So, like I said, Pueblo Vista, New Mexico. So I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about recycling and solid waste operations. You could go ahead and advance to the next slide. So first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that works in the solid waste industry. Through the pandemic, you realize that trash doesn't stop. And so as working in this industry, I feel that we are all frontline workers. We're just as essential as, our policemen, our nurses, because we can't telework. So a lot of times we might be overlooked. So on behalf of your community members, my community, everybody, I just want to tell you guys thank you. So I just next slide. Okay, just basically, I'm Lauren Hohola. I'm the head of the solid waste department in Sleda, New Mexico. Like I said, I've been here since 2010. So we're just gonna go ahead and talk about solid waste and transfer stations during COVID, and just a little bit about our recycling program. We could go to the next slide. So the Pueblo of Isleta, we're located directly south of Albuquerque, bordering Albuquerque in New Mexico. So we provide a weekly curbside trash and recycle service, as well as operate our transfer station Monday through Saturday. And just a little bit about our Pueblo, we have, a hotel, casinos, the lakes, RV resort, the laser tags and all that good stuff, bowling, smoke shop, several businesses here. Our admin buildings, including like our governor's office, just different entities, the schools, the house center. That's a picture of our St. Augustine Church in the center of our plaza. So there's a little, it's a cool picture. There's a rainfall there. Then I wish I could point it out to you, but there's a little trash can that's there. And you can see it's a brown trash can that's there. So I thought that was a cool picture. So just kind of give you a peace of mind where we kind of take our trucks through servicing with our curbside pickup. Next slide. Just a little bit more of our community so you could kind of see what we have. Our gas stations, our elementary, we have a subway, we have our lakes and our RV resorts, our library and our elderly centers and assistant living areas. So that's just kind of just to give you a picture, just a general take on how our community looks, and about to give you an estimate on how big we are. Like I said, we service there's 1,455 homes that we service in the community, and 58 administrative buildings and businesses that we all service with the curbside trash and recycle. So that's just to give you a number of the places, buildings, and homes that we service. So each week, including the recycle, including trash and recycle, our village residents are the only ones that don't have recycling curbside service here in the near future, but we service a total of 2,578 places altogether. If you count the twice a week, once for trash and once for recycle. So go ahead to the next slide. So this is just a little bit. I want to talk about staying safe during COVID. Just make sure that you have your signage. Signage is real important. A lot of this signage was bought with COVID funding. So if you could kind of see, it has your rules to go ahead and stop. Right underneath that, there's a little hand sanitizer right underneath that clipboard. I know it's kind of hard to see, and I apologize. I wish I could point it out to you, but there's that little green bottle. So just go ahead and, if you can, make that kind of available to the public, because that's a real concern. I know people will have lots of issues with touching pins and everything. A lot of people are worried about trace COVID. So do what you can. If you can, offer minor things like like hand sanitation. Have your rules. There's our stop sign, and we have our, our face mask to go ahead and please wear a face mask and, help keep your community safe. So those are just a couple things to go ahead and look at and might want to think about it and might want to let your people know your rules and your regulations. I mean, because yes, we're an outside facility, but with us we want to make sure our community members know, that way they don't come up to our transfer station and not be prepared and not have a mask. So those are just some of the little things that we have. And on that sign too, one of them, well, you could go to the next slide. One of the other rules that we have posted too is, practicing your social distancing and our 2 vehicle max limit. So we're running 2 vehicles. We're only allowing 2 vehicles into the transfer station at one time. We don't really have a set limit on the amount of people, but just two limit or 2 vehicle limit. So some of the things that the Pueblo is doing, Pueblo, in every building there, you have to do temperature checks. So you could see right there when you walk into my office, there's a scanner where we get our temperature checked, and we go ahead and I still have my wristband on from this morning. That's a way. There's a color sent out every day, so you know which wristband to wear. Kind of letting everyone know that yes, you've been checked for making sure you don't have a fever. There's a kind of a picture right there of our time clock, and there's our the face mask, the Lysol wipes, the disinfectants that I have available to my guys, as well as the rubber gloves, and so it's all there. So we're practicing just staying safe, washing our hands, and just making sure that's available. So that's some of the precautions that our Pueblo. So you could go ahead and go to the next slide. And then another thing too is like have your signage up, like the no tools, especially now during COVID. It's just like I said, it's a safety precaution that we're not sharing a bunch of things. So right now we're not lending any tools. So make sure, like with us, we make sure our community knows that. Be prepared if you're gonna be coming up to our transfer station. Make sure you bring your own shovel. Make sure you bring your own rake. Previously, we didn't have too much of a problem lending out tools too much. But now with the pandemic going on, that's another safety precaution we've taken, is just go ahead and just make sure you come prepared with your own tools. So that's just another safety precaution and measure we're taking now, running at that we have at the transfer station, as well as our high winds. We close down, especially now it's a windy season, so I let the community know through newsletters, emails, social media that hey, expect especially now during this high wind time, because a lot of times trash is it's lost and it litters our community on the transport on the way to our transfer station, and we could get like near zero visibility where we are located. We're out in the desert, we're out in the hills, so there's not much around, and we have a lot of livestock like the cattle out in the range, so we prevent any litter from going out. And sometimes the cows choose to eat on it, so that's what we're doing. And so that's one of our another safety precaution we have with our winds. And it's important to have safety meetings with your crew. So I have weekly safety meetings. Every week, my crew, we discuss just different things. So on that note, my information is going to be available at the end of my presentation. And I have a whole lot of good information of safety meetings, a big old zip file that I'm willing to share and send out with you guys. And it's a bunch of safety that has to do with transfer station operations, landfill operations, recycling, machinery. So basically the solid waste industry. So if you guys looking for some materials or some information for your staff in regards to safety meetings, hit me up. Let me know. I'm happy to pass on a whole lot of information. I could send it to you at a zip file. You could see how big that binder is, and it's there for you guys. That I'm willing to share that with you guys. Next slide. So then this is some of the instruments we use just to monitor the winds. As you can see, it's a windy day. On the left side, it's a 27 miles per hour of winds, average winds with the peak of 30, and then another 104 degrees outside, just hot. So just make sure that your crew and yourself stay hydrated, safe. That's just to show some of the how we gauge our winds, how we know we're going to shut down. We shut down when the winds hit 25 miles per hour. So that's how I go about engaging our winds. We have it all set up, but it monitors the weather. So just so you know, back to safety, just stay safe in the weather, not to mention, ice and everything that you get in the wintertime. Make sure your ramps, your decks, everything is salted, free of ice. So just a little bit about safety there. So next slide. And then some of the things that we do, illegal dumping. So this is an old illegal dump, bunch of tires, bunch of cement. So there's a before and after pictures, and this was all cleaned up with grant money as well. The RAID grant also covered this. They covered our disposal. They covered our equipment rental. So look for funding when it comes to cleaning up illegal dumps. I know it's a constant battle. I know I'm sure you all deal with it, but just if you can look for fundings. But I'm just letting you know some of the things that we do. So this is a picture of our illegal dump of before and after. So it's cleaned up. Next slide. Home demolitions. It's another collaborative effort that we work with our environment department. I like to say hello to my environment department guys if they're working. Ramona, Montoya, they do an outstanding job here for the Pueblo. And they run our environment department, and we work in a collaborative effort with them to go ahead and demolish homes, get rid of homes that may be problems around the reservation. So basically what the environment department does is they give them an assessment, and they test the buildings, structures, whatever it may be, for asbestos, and they get it abated. And once those homes are abated, solid waste goes ahead and performs the demolition. So the picture is the picture of a home that we're going to be demolishing here within the next probably 2 weeks or so. But you can see that it's been abated, the stucco, and I'm not too sure what all came back hot for asbestos has been abated. So asbestos, of course, is prohibited here at the landfill. So that's been properly disposed of. And just a before and after picture, it's kind of hard to see, but on the lower pictures, there's a home there and then it's not there. So that's just another service that we offer. But like I said, we work with the environment department, and those three in the environment department do an outstanding job in assisting our community and with their program. That's their program, and we help them out with it. Next slide. And then our scrap tire management program is something that we started through the RAID grant too as well. And I encourage you guys in New Mexico, my fellow Pueblos, that grant is it's paid for plates. And most of the funding is allocated towards tires. So if you can, you guys go after tire machines. I got fully funded for both of these machines. So on the bottom right hand corner is a wheel crusher. So what it does is it crushes the wheel, and we're able to take the metal from the wheel, whether it be steel or aluminum, and get that wheel recycled. And what we do with the machine on the top right is go ahead and cut the tire. And once we cut the tire, we're able to get rid of the tire, and then we're able to avoid any regulatory fees, any not fees, but just um, any issues in regards to transportation. Here in the state of New Mexico, you need to have a manifest for anything over 10 tires or more. So once we're able to cut up those tires, we're able to go around that, because the tire is no longer able to float in the landfill, and also it's no longer able to hold the water for mosquitoes. So you can avoid all that if you could get these types of machines. So that's what we're working with, and it's a great source of revenue for on the wheels. There's a picture of the wheels that we have, or the tires that we have picked up from different illegal dumps, and just some that have been brought in by the community. And there's a picture of the rims that we go ahead and stockpile, and we go ahead and take them to the recyclers and able to bring in some revenue with that. And those were both purchased fully funded by the RAID grant, which is recycling and illegal dumping grant by the EPA of New Mexico, or I'm sorry, not EPA, but NMED, New Mexico Environment Department. Go ahead to the next slide. Our green waste, this is how we manage our green waste. There you can see the sign, tree branches only. That's what we consider green waste. So what it is it's mulched by our machine, and there's a whole bunch of different uses that you could do once it's mulched. Gardening, landscaping. Currently, we're looking for new ways of repurposing it. We looked into maybe doing erosion control, maybe the erosion control socks that you see around at different projects. We floated that idea around. Maybe if you guys are having the idea we floated around and pitched is kind of if there some contractor, someone's doing some work here in the Pueblo, hey, maybe we make our erosion control socks and they have to buy our product. Maybe adding that as a clause into their contract. The other thing we're looking into is wood stove pallets, making into some wood stove pallets, or starting a composting program, which is something we don't have yet on the reservation and on the Pueblo here, and something that I like to do. And you can see that sign where we're real picky with it. It's just we just want branches only. We want to turn out a good product, so we're not mulching like construction demolition or 2x4s, a lot of stuff like door hinges, screws, nuts, bolts. That's hard on the machine, so we don't want to mulch that. Plus, you don't want any of the varnishes or anything like that. Treated lumber, you don't want that in your in your mulch. So that's how we keep all our stuff out. We're real particular. You could see a community member has did their driveway with that mulch, and it's real pretty, and it's real nice, and it serves its purpose with mud and just different things. It's a good product. Next slide. And then the other things you could do with it is like the community garden, the youth group here, that's a community garden. We just delivered that load. They're getting ready to start gardening with it. So the community gardens run by another program, and there's a bunch of our youth, and they're getting ready to go ahead and plant vegetables, corn, whatever they may do. And also on the fields, we just delivered a whole bunch out onto this field, and that field is going to be planted with alfalfa. So they're having trouble with alkali, and but that mulch really helps rid that alkali. So there's a bunch of that green waste, our mulch that we went ahead and we delivered out onto the fields, and they're disking it, getting ready to plant, because now it's planting season, so they're gonna plant alfalfa on that field. So that mulch is used on the fields. Next slide. And then our concrete, we stockpile it. So we stockpile our concrete. That's a picture of our concrete sign at our yard, and that's a picture of our stockpile of our concrete. So we go ahead and we stockpile our concrete, asphalt, bricks, pavers. So what we do is we stockpile it, and when we get a big stockpile, then we go ahead and rent a machine and we crush it. And the bottom picture is a picture of a bunch of asphalt that has been crushed, and we reused it on our transfer station. That's a picture of our ramp. So that's a lot. That's good material. So that's what we do with our concrete. Instead of disposing it, disposal, because concrete, what it is, it's a problem waste. It's heavy and it costs a lot to get rid of. So if you can, that's one way that you can go ahead and that's what we are doing. Purpose it, because like I said, it's a problem waste. It's heavy and it costs a lot to get rid of. So if you can, look into renting machines or getting machinery and getting it crushed and being able to use it, market, or whatever it may be. So that's how we handle our concrete. Next slide. And our oil, we accept oil at our transfer station. Look for a free pumping service. Up until February of last year, we used to get our oil pumped for free until COVID hit, unfortunately, and now we pay for the service for the oil pumping. But I'm still looking at trying to maybe find another vendor who's gonna go ahead and for free. But we recycle all types of oil, our motor oil, hydraulic oil, gear oil, bar and chain oil mix, transmission fluid. We collect it and we go ahead and recycle it like that in our container. That container was given to us for free at the time by the pumping service, because at the time they just wanted our oil, and because we keep it clean. So that's how we handle our oil. Next slide. Our cardboard, we have our cardboard baler. We go ahead and make bales. It's a good source of revenue. I recommend, if you can store them, you just have to pay attention to the market, see when it's high. If you could do that, go ahead and sell when it's high. If you could store it indoors somewhere, or not indoors necessarily, just I'm sorry, excuse me, that's my dog Trigger. He's here with me. And he just heard something in the wind and he started barking. To the cardboard, yeah, if you can, go ahead and store it, or at least tarp it. The nicer the bale, the nicer your cardboard, the higher they pay. So that's how we do our cardboard. And like I said, it's a good source of revenue. Next slide. Then our metals, we collect metal at our transfer station. We have our drop-off location. You can see our bin, and we also segregate it when we go out to do different work orders, just like a home demolition. If there's a lot of metal that can be brought out from the home by sources of water heaters, washers, or dryers, or just steel paneling on the roof, we try and separate as much as we can and recycle it and get some revenue from it. There's the bottom of that picture is a picture of our hotel and casino. They recently reached to me. Basically, they're getting rid of the buffet stuff. So it was a whole bunch of stainless steel. And that load right there bringing close to $600. So we just went ahead and picked it up and took it to the recycle center because I guess it looks like the buffet is gonna be a thing of the past. So they're getting rid of like the stainless steel pots and pans that went in the buffet area. So we went ahead and picked up a whole bunch of stuff and got some money out of it. So if you guys on your pueblos, if you guys have casinos or whatever, see if they won't if you can't collect their recyclable stainless. So we went ahead and did, and it worked out for us. Next slide. Our electronics, we do basically electronics, anything with a power cord. See if there's any kind of vendors out, any recycling centers that are gonna pay you money for your recycling goods. So basically anything with the power cord, if you can, at least cut the cord off. We cut the cords off, we save it. We're able to sell it. There's non-insulated copper, which is the picture on the right. That's the high dollar stuff, and insulated copper, which is the one on the top left. So go ahead and that's just my thing. If you can, if you guys ain't recycling your electronics, at least cut the cords off and save them. Copper, it's a high revenue. It's a good source of revenue. So if you can, go ahead and do it, and then look for e-waste events, attend e-waste events, different e-waste events. Try and get it recycled the right way. But we do a whole lot of that. Next slide. There's our batteries. There's just our battery location or our sign for at our transfer station, and that's the last load I took. You could see there's different things in there, battery backup, smaller batteries. That was probably like a $400 load that we got for that load of batteries that's there. So make sure, lead acid batteries are prohibited at the landfill. So make sure they don't go into your dumpsters, but recycle them. It's a very good source of revenue. We get about $8 a battery. So if you can, go ahead and recycle your batteries. Next source or next slide. And just more on our e-waste, you could kind of see all the computers I picked up. There's a lot of, like you could see the top right corner, that's all the battery backups. If you can cut those power cords off, that's worth a lot of money. And the copper, and then take the batteries out and recycle them. Those batteries are worth a lot of cash too. Just all those motherboards, you're able to take them to recycler or recycle them yourself. You could get paid for tins or aluminum, just depending on what it's made of. So that's another thing to do with the e-waste in regards to like computers. Computers, a lot of it is you could knock it's tin steel. So go ahead and if you can, maybe even start a eBay store or something, be able to sell them or reuse them. But that's how we do our e-waste. That was a big load of e-waste that I picked up from one of our administrative buildings. We got some good revenue out of that load. Next one. And like I said, attend events. This is an event, an e-waste event that was sponsored by OWIDA and 8 Northern. Any of you guys are out there, hello. But thank you for sponsoring events like this. This was one that we went to a couple years back at Pewaukee Pueblo. So they sponsored the e-waste event. So if you can, partner with your local tribes, your local pueblos that are around. Collaboration, that's good. So go ahead and attend events, like I said. So that's us dropping off a bunch of recyclables to them at Pewaukee Pueblo. Next slide. Household hazardous waste collection. Just that's just a picture of the event that we hosted. It was sponsored by OIDA and 8 Northern as well. And it's just an event that we have. So, like I said, just look at hosting different HHW events. We go ahead and we have a storage for all our HHW, and we go ahead and get rid of it and disposed of the proper way. But that's just a couple of things that we do for here in Isleta. We have our own collections too as well. So this was just a picture of some of the stuff that came in, and the it's getting packaged and collected and shipped out properly. So that's what we do here. Next slide. Curbside recycling is go ahead, next slide. Something we do, I think there's some sort of program. You need to go ahead and just kind of be wise and think about what's achievable, what's doable. Do you want to um, what's realistic, in other words. Did you go to the next slide yet? But basically, think about, what you want to offer: single stream recycling, dual stream recycling, your equipment, your manpower, your reasons. Are you in it to make money, or are you in it to save Mother Earth? Be wise like this man. We know who this man is. He's Sitting Bull, so I thought he'd be a good, wise man to put on this slide. But think what you're gonna do. Single stream, dual stream. You're gonna be a MRF. Your reasons, your funding, your surrounding. This if it's achievable and realistic. Next slide. So your planning, you got to think about your planning. These are, like I said, planning what you're going to do. These two buildings are very new. The top right one is our new transportation department building. So they're going to be part of recycling. So you got to, be part of the planning process. Make sure any buildings, any businesses that are going to come in, ask them to recycle, include recycling in there. The bottom is our new community dance hall, or not dance hall, but banquet hall. Really hasn't been used. It just opened up last year when COVID hit, so it hasn't really been utilized, but there's gonna be recycling there. So I made sure that, that they participate in recycling. So just, think about that with your recycling program. Any future businesses, buildings that are going to come up, have them participate in recycling and look for funding, apply for funding, because all our recycle program has been grant funded. Next slide. Do the RAID grant. The single stream is, no need to separate. That's what we do. We offer a single stream recycle program, so there's no need to separate. You can see there's your aluminum cans, your plastic bottle board. So that's what we offer. You get a high volume of materials, and downside to that is there's really not much revenue, or no revenue. In our case, we don't get any revenue out of it, unfortunately, anymore. But we do the right thing and make sure that all the recyclables are diverted out of the waste stream. So that's what we do. Single stream, that's what it is. Next slide. Dual stream, meaning you have to separate everything: your cans, your paper, your plastic. So it's a little bit more work to it, but you probably bring in more revenue if you're able to separate your material. So that's another way to think about it, or your dual stream. So that's why, back to your reasons: are you in for revenue, or what? Or your limitations, or your facilities around you maybe don't accept plastic. Maybe the around you is a aluminum recycle center, and maybe just a cardboard recycle center. So there's just different things to think about. So that's a dual stream. Basically, it's a little bit more work. You have to separate everything, but you probably bring in more revenue with that. Next slide. And then your MRF, basically a materials recovery facility. So basically what that is if you're recycling, you're taking it back to your place to go ahead and separate it. That's another way of recycling. So that's another thing you want to think about. Are you going to be a MRF, or are you just going to grab and go, grab and go? So MRF, that's what a MRF is. It's, take your material steady and then take to the recycle center. So that's what a MRF is. So that's another thing to think about with your program. Is that something you're going to be able to offer? Is that something you're going to be able to do? So that's another thing to think about. And next slide. So our curbside program, we started in 2014 through the RAID grant. So basically, we started off as a pilot program, and we're able to go ahead and buy the curbside bins that you could see. So it just, like I said, started off as a pilot program, and it took off with success. Basically, the community liked it, and they wanted to participate. They had the willingness to participate. And like that's me, the actual driver in there. At the time, I was the driver, and our first collection was collected April 10th of 2015. And we got 460 pounds of recycles. That was our very first load ever. So the whole route took less than an hour to complete. But it was rough to start off. So it could be a little discouraging at first, but never give up. Never give up, because it's been a very successful program. So that's how we started off. Like I said, this was all grant funded. But don't give up. Next slide. That's a picture of our truck being unloaded at Friedman Recycle Centers. And you can see it's all mixed up, all commingled, single stream. So that's where we take it. Next slide. And then basically, like I said, it was a big success. Like everybody wanted to recycle, everyone wanted a recycle bin. So later, years later, we reapplied for and we were refunded through the RAID grant, and we are able to expand our recycle program. And now we have 3 routes. I think our latest, that might not be the right latest collection. It might be a little bit more up actually, from 6.81. That's about right. But our tonnage has went up. Our tonnage has went up. The time that it takes to do the routes has went up significantly. It takes, about 5 hours to complete a route, and it's just a big success, and I'm very proud of it. And it's just something that we continue to do. And like I said, just you can't give up. So like I said, when we first started, it took less than an hour, and we didn't even have half a ton. And now we get a couple tons every time, and it takes a whole day to go ahead and go do the route. So just keep at it. And next slide. Our hub and spoke, that's a picture of a drop-off location. You can see in the background, it has our recycling sign. So that's just made through different places throughout the community. So people can go ahead and take the recyclables and go ahead and drop them off. The thing to it is they're unmanned, so make sure you have signage up, like how we have ours, our recycling, and they require constant monitoring and service. So when they get filled, you have to service them, kind of right away, because you don't want bags of recycles or anything laying piled up on the side. So that's what a hub and spoke is basically spokes off to a drop-off location, is brought back to the main hub, which would be our transfer station, and then it's taken to our recycling facility. Now, but that's about a hub and spoke program. So something you guys might want to think about too is maybe, while we can't do a curbside service to everybody, why can't we just have maybe a couple drop-off locations throughout the community? So that's a little small, simple way to go ahead and start as well. Next slide. Establish your rules. Make sure Think about any penalties to both you and your customers. You know, are you gonna make sure you tell them you can't use your recycle card as a trash card? You know, you gotta think about the fines or penalties that you guys might take when you take it to your recycle facility if it's, you know, contaminated or whatever. So you need to make sure that you have your rules for your program well established, and that the that your community knows about your program. Every time we take a recycle bin to someone who's getting on the program, we make sure we explain the whole program to them, and we make sure that they sign off for the bin. So you're not just saying, "Here's the recycle bin, here you go." You have to explain and let them know about your program. That way they know what to put in there, what not to put in there. So have your rules and let them know about it, and establish your rules. Next slide. Your target spot. These are, you could see all the cigarette cartons and the cardboard that goes in there. So just a couple things to think about. Places with high volume. The next slide. Our post office, we have it here at our post office. You could see at our tribal service complex, house center. Basically, every facility has those big blue bins that you could see that we're servicing with the curbside service. So those are, you know, some high volume places that you might want to get involved in it. Next slide. Our office, we have an office recycle program. You can see the little blue bin right there. So we have all offices have those little blue recycle bins. So go ahead and just try and keep it simple. Ours is just, you know, paper, plastic, and aluminum. We're not getting too complicated, something that everybody could kind of understand. And then there's a picture of recycling the ink cartridges. So that's our office recycling program that we have, and we use our facility maintenance crew are the one that empty those there for us to collaborate with them to go ahead and make sure it's collected when they're out cleaning buildings and picking up trash. They go ahead and empty those as well into the designated recycle bins that we offer. Next slide. Event recycling, there's an event that was going on. You could see my booth that was down there, but you could see at that event, we're keeping it simple. Bottles and cans, so we try and go ahead and recycle when we have big events. You could see a recycle trailer as well. That was also purchased through the RAID grant. So there's recycle trailers that we have that we take down to, you know, baseball tournaments, feast days, but just try and keep it simple if you can. Bottles and cans only, so we kind of do at big events. Next slide. And then do your outreach when you're at those events. Let your people know about your program and what you do, and like I said, the importance of it. And just never give up. Never give up. And just so when you're at different events, your program, and recycle while you're there. Next slide. And if you don't know what to do with the recycles, something that someone, maybe your program doesn't accept it, know where to send people with their material. So there's a couple places I send different people. You know, they want to know, what do I do in my grocery bags? Oh, well, you could take it to Albertsons, or you could take it to Walmart. You know, they have their different collections, or, you know, compact fluorescent lights. You could take it to, you know, your Home Depot. You could take it to your Lowe's. What I do with my cell phones? Well, you take it to Best Buy because they're gonna go ahead and take it. So just kind of do your research and kind of know where to send them, send people that aren't sure, and be able to explain to them why you can't take it. Next slide. And then just simple ways to go ahead and start, you know, some stickers. These are just some simple solutions. Just maybe you're not able to, your program isn't able to go ahead and purchase bins. So maybe you could just get some stickers made up and place them on those bins. That picture on the bottom is a recycle bin that we made just for cans and bottles. So just look out for free stickers like that recycle sticker, that circle one. Those are freebies. So if you go to different events, whatever, you see some stickers or something, magnets, pick them up and use them. So those are just a little bit of ways to go ahead and start you off. You're on a budget. Make your own signs, laminate them, and tape them on your bins if you have to. But just some little friendly tips, simple suggestions, simple solutions for your recycle program. Next slide. That is it. So there's my contact information. Lauren Hohola, Pueblo Visteta. There's my cell phone. Feel free to call me or text me. I'm with the times. I know how to call. I know how to text. There's my email. You can go ahead and email me. Like I said, I have safety meetings to share with you guys. Any advice, anything. I'm here. I hope you guys from in your solid waste and your recycling, and not just that, but with every program you guys have. But I'm here. That's me. That's my information. Call me, text me, email me. We'll sit down, or we could talk. We could video chat, whatever. And hopefully, I gave you some good information. And that's all I have. And thank you all. I really appreciate the opportunity to go ahead and speak with you. And I apologize for the difficulties we had.
Thank you so much, Lauren. So you do have quite a few questions in the chat box. I'm going to go ahead and give my presentation. We have about 12 minutes left until the webinar is technically over. So we'll do the chat. We'll do a chat and questions at the very end. So I'm going to share mine real quick.
Okay.
And for those of you that don't know me, I'm Chelsea Jones. I work with Cherokee Nation. You've probably seen my face and around quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to talk a little bit about our hazardous waste grant that we received this past year. Due to COVID, we did get it extended. I'm just going to go a little bit over it if I can get it to play. So the grant we received, it was a Cherokee Nation Environmental Programs received a hazardous waste grant to conduct. We conducted 3 one-day household hazardous waste collection events, and so far we have completed 3 one-day electronic waste recycling events. We have 3 more planned that are going to take place over the next month. Like I said, so far we've conducted 3 household hazardous waste collection events. We did these events in Cherokee jurisdiction for the most part. We did do one in Miami, Oklahoma. We partnered with several other tribes up near Ottawa County. So we did one in Fort Gibson back in October, did one in Miami in October, and one in Stillwell. And we chose these counties based on whether or not they had availability to even host their own event. And most of them do not have the capabilities to host their own hazardous waste collection events because they are fairly expensive. And a lot of these cities and communities are very small. So we were able to do 3 of those events and they were very successful. So far, we've conducted 2 electronic waste recycling events. We did one in Tahlequah on September 4th and one in Collinsville, September 11th. And those are also becoming very popular events. And, after we have finished those events, I get people contacting me all the time. When are you guys going to do another event? Unfortunately, it's grant funded, but hopefully if we receive the grant again, maybe that's something else we could look into doing. So those were really good events. So We are going to do an additional 3 electronic waste events. We have one actually next week in Tahlequah. And then we have 2 more, one in Nowata, Oklahoma on May 7th and one in Wagner, Oklahoma on May 14th. And we actually, I probably have a couple of Muskogee Creek Nation employees on the line. So if you guys want to come to that event, you're more than welcome to. We welcome your tribal members to come and recycle their e-waste. These were a couple of the flyers that we created. We did change some of the wording because we did do these events during when COVID was more rampant. So we would put on there, you know, due to the current pandemic, the staff collecting the e-waste will be taking safety precautions. You know, please wear a mask if you are dropping off e-waste or hazardous waste. And these flyers we would actually post on Cherokee Nation's social media site. And then if we worked with other tribes, and we'd have them post on their social media sites. And we didn't get out in the community a whole lot during that time. So most of it was social media advertisement. And then some of the cities would also, you know, chip in, and they would post it in their newspaper or newsletters, or the easiest way to get the information out there. This is just a list of the types of waste we collected. As you can see on there, it's there's quite a bit on there. So you had a lot of variety of things coming to these hazardous waste events. Pictures are events that we hosted. So this one is the one in Fort Gibson. You can see there's quite a bit of paint in that picture. The Fort Gibson event overview. During that event, we collected 7,191 pounds of household hazardous waste. And some of this does include e-waste because our vendor that we use for the household hazardous waste events actually took e-waste as well. So there was quite a bit of e-waste taken to these events as well. There's 43 cars participated, and 25 of them were travel. This is our Ottawa County hazardous waste collection event. We actually partnered with several tribes in the area on this one, which included, big shout out to you guys, Eastern Shawnee Tribe, Miami Tribe of Oklahoma, Modoc Tribe, Ottawa Tribe of Oklahoma, Peoria Tribe of Indians, Oklahoma, Quapaw Tribe, Seneca Cayuga Nation, Shawnee Tribe, and the Wyandotte Nation. So they were a big help on this event, and they helped us with advertisement and getting the word out there. And then a few of them actually came to the event the day of to help with surveys and minor logistics. So that was really great. So thank you guys for helping us with that event. Event overview for Ottawa County. During this event, we collected 8,489 pounds of household hazardous waste. 63 cars participated in the event, 21 of which were tribal. And this one was our only county event that we hosted. It was a really good turnout. And the weather, it was cold this day, so we didn't get as many as we thought we'd get, but turned out really well. This, I think, is a video. We took our drone to this event, so we kind of took some footage with that. So let's see if it'll play. This was listed at their fair. This is another video. It is really cool though, because you get to see kind of all the stuff that's there. There's a lot that goes into these events. Up front was our vendor, and they did most of the handling of the hazardous waste. As you can see on that bottom side, there's some e-waste, some TVs. And there's just some other pictures of the Ottawa County event. You can see in the top left, there's pictures of all of us that participated that day, several tribes. And you can see Wes up in the right-hand corner taking a survey. And the bottom left is actually Kathy. I don't know if you guys are on the line, but thank you guys for helping. the Stillwell Household Hazardous Waste Collection. This day it rained a lot, so it definitely made it interesting. Collected 7,360 pounds of household hazardous waste at this event, and 38 cars, and 23 of those cars were tribal. Like I said, this day it poured, so I'm happy. This is a very small community, and there was 38 cars that participated. That's a pretty good turnout, and some of them brought a lot of stuff, because people have paint piled up for 20 years, seems like. You can see everybody's all the water on the ground. This one, they had quite a bit of e-waste, as you can see, like in the right-hand picture. There's a huge TV, and those are really fun to get out of vehicles, right? Tahlequah e-waste recycling event. And this guy looks like he loaded up for, like I said, 20 years. This event collected 11,712 pounds of electronic waste. It's a lot of electronic waste. Our Collinsville e-waste recycling event. We got a lot of stuff at that event too. These events have become really popular. Collinsville e-waste event collected 8,395 pounds of electronic waste. Here's the total overview. So we collected 23,040 pounds of waste at the 3 household hazardous waste collection events, which in the year before that we received this grant is a very comparable, if not more, because in the last year we did do 1 extra hazardous waste event, and this year we did more e-waste events, but we collected a very large amount of hazardous waste, especially for very small communities. Like I said, these communities don't have access to host their own events, so us coming in there and doing that for them it was a very successful event. So we collected 20,107 pounds of waste at 2 electronic waste recycling events for an overall of 43,147 pounds of waste. That was all kept from the landfill. That's awesome. So we actually, like I said, we still have 3 more electronic waste recycling events to complete. So I'm assuming we'll add at least 20,000 more pounds of waste to this number. So one of the things we put into our grant was that we would create a fact sheet. So we just did since we hosted a lot of these during, like I said, when COVID was still really rampant and there wasn't vaccinations yet, we just made a fact sheet to use as a generic one for everyone. So I put on there, just different little facts like, did you know clean plastic bags can be recycled at Walmart, where you can take oil and oil filters, just places that people can look at to say, oh, hey, I actually have a Walmart right down the road. I could go recycle my plastic bags there. So we just put on there little fun facts about, where you can actually recycle things you may have not known about. So that fact sheet was pretty helpful. So lessons learned, planning events during a pandemic is hard, but it can be done. So I say that because, several of those hazardous waste and e-waste events, we had to cancel, and then we'd reschedule. We have to cancel again, and then schedule it, and then cancel it again. So it was a lot of back and forth. The major thing, as you can see on the second bullet, communication. That is major. And I say that because you're communicating with, 6 or 7 different entities when you're planning these events. You're speaking with the vendor, you're speaking with the communities, you're speaking with sometimes law enforcement. You're talking to people internally on how to get advertisement going. So there's a lot of people that are in the loop for each event, and a lot of the times it's different people on each one. So I'm sure as many of you know that have hosted these events, communication is a big thing on lessons learned. Like us, we have to put out bids since it's grant funded. We have to put out a bid, and you wait to get that bid in. So one of the things is get your bid out, get it to a vendor, and get a vendor ASAP. This will allow plenty of time for advertising for events, because I know for us, we have to wait until all the signatures have been approved before we can begin advertisement. So sometimes that takes a month or two, and it's very time consuming. So do that as soon as you can and get it out there. Try to stay in contact with the same person from each city. That goes for internally, that goes for everything you're doing. Try to stay in contact with the same person so they know what's going on. Whenever you're scheduling these events, try not to schedule them on holidays, because I know for us, it's hard to make sure everyone's available on a certain day. And one of the major things is holidays. If you put a event on a holiday, more than likely people are already with their families or friends, and they don't have time to come to a hazardous waste event or e-waste event. So that's a big thing for us. Questions? Here is our contact information. If anyone has any questions, or if they're thinking about hosting a hazardous waste event or e-waste event and you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help. We're happy to help with whatever. So that's all I have. Looks like we're doing pretty good on time, so I will stop sharing. And Lauren's still on. So it looks like there's a couple questions. If you guys want to hang around and have us answer the questions that we have going on in the chat box. One of the main things that I'm hearing, Lauren and Maxine, is are these presentations going to be available? So are you guys okay with us sharing your PowerPoints with people to ask?
Absolutely. Go ahead and share it. That's what it's for. I'm here. Go ahead. Share my information, share my contact information too.
Okay, so it looks like we got a couple. I don't know if they were to me or you or both of us, but Lauren, we also got a question. Where did you purchase your signage from, or did you make it, or did you guys create it in-house?
Our signs, I got a artist, Eric at Highway Supply in New Mexico. He works at Highway Supply in New Mexico. It's imperative that we have the UV grade, and like I said, we're out in the sticks is where we're located. So our signage take a beating from the sun and the elements all year round. But if you guys are in New Mexico, Eric at Highway Supply, he does a great job. He's a good artist for your signs. So that's where I get my signs done.
Okay, awesome. I don't know which question who this was for. It's from Glenn, and he's asking, do all those different types of oil go in the same tank for recycling, or are they going to go in separate tanks?
Yes, they all go in the same tank as long as everything's allowed up to 1,000 parts per million, meaning it could have some contamination, whether it might be some gasoline, diesel, some water, but we do a good job at keeping it clean, and same with our community members do a good job at keeping it clean, and they just pick it all up at one pump. It's a universal tank basically for all oil.
It looks like we got quite a few questions on your tires. Wes asks, after you cut the tires, are they marked for recycling? And then also, speaking of tires, they're wondering where you take the tires. So 2 different questions, but I figure they both kind of go with tires.
Well, unfortunately, our tires really aren't recycled here. They're taken out to Valencia Regional Landfill. That's where we take our tires. But when we're able to cut them, we're able to get around generating a manifest, like by DOT rules by the state of New Mexico. Once you have 10 or more tires, you have to start getting a manifest once they're transported. So that saves us that trouble.
Okay, I'm not sure who this question is for, but what grant helped with cleanup of the dump? I don't know if that was for you, Lauren, or Maxine.
Well, with ours, it was the RAID grant, which is recycling and illegal dumping grant through the New Mexico Environment Department.
I'm scanning through to see if there's any questions. for those these presentations will be available. We did record this webinar, so it will also be located on our YouTube channel. And I'll probably have that posted probably tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So if you guys have any questions after the fact, or if you have anything else, shoot me an email and I can get it to Lauren or Maxine, whichever one. So, and if you want the PowerPoints, please email me. I'll put my email in the chat and I'll make sure you guys get those PowerPoints. Thank you so much, Lauren and Maxine, for presenting today. We really appreciate you guys. Very interesting. And like I said, thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you everybody for presenting or for participating. Our next session will be next Tuesday, and it will be a TANES, and it starts at 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, April 20th. So again, thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.